Sue Adams, licensed veterinary technician who guided me and Wanda, my 11-year-old Weimaraner, to, I guess you could say, a new childhood, the fountain of youth. It's totally amazing. The last time we talked about you being part of the Elevet Sciences family and being there for customers and veterinarians and veterinary technicians who have questions about CBD, right? That's your
Correct.
job.
Correct.
They want to know how to use it, when to use it, quantity, etc. So I thought it was amazing that a company would hire somebody and have you on staff. It seems above and beyond compared to
Ag-
other companies that make products for joints or wellness.
Agreed. I think that does set Elevet apart, and it is now. There was perceived value in it for the company once I started doing it, and now the team on customer service is almost exclusively veterinary technicians.
It is? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah,
Wow, that's pretty
yeah.
impressive. So, just so people get a sense of what an LVT is, licensed veterinary technicians are different than veterinary technicians who are
Well,
trained, but they have different letters.
there's RVT, which is registered vet tech, CVT, which is certified vet tech, and LVT. Those are all people that have gone through an accredited program and gotten a degree in veterinary technology. So that means there's been formal training after high school, college level training. There's a lot of people who practice the role of veterinary technician who've learned on the job.
Yes.
Um, in some arenas, it's preferred that they're called veterinary assistants. I think that kind of diminishes their
Oh, I see.
performance.
Yeah.
So it's logistics to a certain extent, but there's some that have further training beyond high school with an accredited program, and others have learned on the job.
Like an apprentice. So when we
Yeah,
go to our general practitioner vet and the vet tech comes in the room before the vet and asks some questions and notes things in the chart and do you have any questions or concerns other than whatever reason you've come to the vet? Some
right,
of those are just animal loving people who had an internship when they were in high
right,
school and realized this was a great
right.
fit for them. Whereas,
Some have moved up from a previous role, so they may start as a kennel technician
oh,
doing animal care in the kennels because it might be a boarding facility, or they might just have enough kennels that there's someone who's doing the laundry and the kennel care. And then others have gone from being a receptionist and front end customer service agent. They've moved to the back. Now they want to work more hands on with the animals themselves. So sometimes they've moved up from within the
right.
institution or the facility, and other times they came in with the role of veterinary assistant, and then they train up until they can perform all the tasks of the veterinary technicians. But there are some that require licensed or certified veterinary technicians perform certain tasks, like many states don't want unlicensed people putting in IV catheters or administering IV fluid therapy, adjusting
Right.
the pumps, and or even administering vaccines. Licensed veterinary technicians in most states are authorized to do that under the direct or indirect supervision of a veterinarian. Sometimes those states do not want unlicensed technicians giving vaccines, especially rabies, because it's zoonotic.
And it's at least in Vermont, it has to be the vet herself or himself
Right,
who does
right.
it or draw blood. I just want to
Mhm.
draw the distinction because it's not to put down anybody who is being
Correct.
that veterinary assistant or
Right,
associate, but it's to understand that if a company like Elevet hires a licensed veterinary technician, you
right,
cost more.
right,
You deserve a higher pay. So it's not
right,
just a friendly voice on the phone,
right,
it's somebody with quite a bit of experience and
right,
training and facts
right.
under their belt.
And
So
I
when
came with decades of being a technician, but also a hospital manager, a practice manager. And several of my other teammates have also been not just veterinary technicians, but also practice managers. So that helps us when we're working with a veterinary practice because we understand the ins and outs of how tight their time is, how difficult it is for them to find
yes,
more shelf space for multiple SKUs, the inventory
yes.
management piece of it. So it's helpful in that regards when dealing with a practice because we've been there, we understand that whole piece a little bit clearer.
So
And then we also
when the vet gets in touch with you and says, "Okay, I think we should carry Elevet because we trust it because you've done the research,"
right,
you understand that they can't devote an entire cabinet your
Right,
oils or your
right,
chews. They
right.
have to be judicious about it.
Limited space, limited SKUs, and
Hmm.
shelf life and expiration all has to be tracked.
Right.
So
Yeah.
try to guide them in what is the four most essential products that you should have on your shelf that will sell the best and be the most efficacious for the most number of your cases.
And shine the most light on you. Because
Yeah.
I now think you hung the moon, Sue Adams, right? Now,
Yeah.
if my vet had said to me, Wanda would be licking your face all over, but you're up in Maine and we're in
Yeah.
Vermont. At least we're on the
Yeah.
same coast.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
but if my vet, Susie Pence, had said, so Wanda doesn't like acupuncture, doesn't like it, doesn't like cold laser,
Right.
and maybe we've tried something else, but she doesn't have a joint problem. She's not a
Right.
candidate for a Synovitin OA injection. She just
Right.
really struggling to get up and slowed down. Not
Yeah.
quite as strong in the way she gets up or trots or runs. She wasn't doing much of that. Had she
Right.
said, I think you should try Elevet and here's how to do it, again, the vets can't be the ones who are the shepherds of products. It's very difficult. That's why I think it's amazing to have a company that says, call up the company. Let one of
And
our
I
people talk you through
right.
this.
And I think that by having veterinary technicians in this role of customer service, it has given veterinarians a confidence because
Yes.
now, and I've seen it shift in the 4.5 years I've been here, it's shifted from almost all direct pet owners calling us to now they call and say, I just came from my vet, or I just got your
Oh,
brochure from my vet,
nice.
or it was recommended to me by your vet, by my vet. So I'm hearing that 20, 30 times a week. The calls are coming directly because their vet recommended it. They may not carry it again because it's
Right.
just a nightmare for them from an inventory
Yes.
standpoint, but they're still recommending it because for some dogs, it is the addition that kind of is the frosting on the cake to make that dog feel its very best. And and veterinarians are starting to see that more and more now.
I was skeptical. Not that I didn't.
I was too. I took the job as a 90-day trial because I wanted to
No
know if this
kidding.
no, I said, I don't know enough about your company. We sold it briefly before I retired, but I said, I don't know enough about your company. And I spent 40 years helping the sick and the injured animals of the world. I am not going to now start selling garbage.
Yeah. Snake
So,
oil. What if it's
right.
snake oil?
So I said, I'll take a 90-day trial because I
No
wanted
kidding.
an exit strategy. And then we can decide at any point during those 90 days that I'm either not a good fit for you or it's not a good fit for me. Because I was not going to promote a product that I could not say that there was science and safety and efficacy and quality that was all being monitored and maintained on a high level.
See, I would believe all that because they take themselves seriously.
Yeah,
But I didn't know, in terms of not trusting it, was it going to work? Was it going to
right,
have any measurable effect on an animal who has no way of telling me? But I'm really good at seeing a lame animal or an achy animal or an animal that says, no, that's enough. I can't go on any more
right,
walk. I even had to put to sleep a dog who, he back in the day, it's got to be 25, 30 years ago, three dogs, and we would go on two long walks in the woods on the paths every day. And he would get to the path and go,
yeah. No
no.
thanks.
And then I
Yeah,
say, okay, Billy Blue, stay home. And then he would howl. He
yeah.
couldn't
In
bear that we were going
protest. Yeah,
without him, but he heard
yeah,
too much. If I had known, I
yeah.
bet you if he'd had Elevet, he would have trotted happily along. So,
It's
what?
possible, yeah.
So I had heard about CBD oil for humans
Yeah,
going back, I don't know, when it was first legal or something in Colorado, I
right,
think was the first place. And I
right,
read about some very fancy ski kind of guy that started his own company. And I bought some for myself, and it's not inexpensive. Done
right,
properly, CBD is expensive to make the oil and
yep,
therefore expensive to buy. And I don't think I knew how to use it. You don't use it like you use an Advil. It's the
right,
opposite of that. But I didn't know how much or when. And
right.
so I bought the capsules and I took some and I don't know, I had some CBD cream and the whole thing was like, I don't know. I just don't know. And
I
I
don't think
quit.
anyone does. I don't think there's enough science. It's a fairly new
Yeah.
industry research. So I think Elevet was one of the first companies to really start doing a milligram per kilogram dosing schedule in their clinical trials to see how much do dogs respond to, how much do they need, and even before that is how much is safe and how much might not be. So I
Right.
think the dosing piece that Elevate has done, the research they put into doing that was key to being able to make it successful, because you can't just say give 7 drops and not know how many milligrams you're delivering.
Yes, yes. But where people are concerned, I don't think anyone's done the research, which is ironic that
Hmm.
there's this one company, and now I understand there's one more company in the pet space who've done some research or done
I
a
think
lot of research.
Epidiolex, the juvenile epilepsy CBD product that's been FDA approved,
Oh,
probably is the one that has the most human research on it, because it's now there is an FDA approved product for juvenile epilepsy for those kids that just have those refractory seizures that even on
wow.
traditional pharma. So there is a CBD product now for the human certain section of humans for seizure management, but that also bodes well for us as a CBD company to say it does help convince people of the safety of it if the FDA has approved it for children.
Good point. But for grown-ups who just have aches and pains
Yeah,
and
you're
they're
on your own.
somewhat lame, or
Yeah,
you need a hip replacement or you've had a knee replacement,
yeah,
you're on your own. And
yeah,
so when I said, okay, Wanda now has this young Visla brother who
yeah,
runs her ragged. And she actually loves it, but I've got my heart in my mouth. He slams
right,
her. He thinks he's on a football field.
right,
She goes along with it, or he attaches his
right,
mouth to her ear and runs her around.
right,
So we said, okay, let's try the Elevate.
right,
And the question was, do we do the chews, which she doesn't like any chews, and she didn't really like your chews, to be honest,
right,
or
right.
do we do
Many don't.
capsules? And then the
Hmm.
capsules still had to be covered in something for her to take them.
Right.
So I was using the squishy cat treat and
Hmm.
completely covering it, and she would lick the cat treat off and not take the capsule just on principle. I don't like
Right.
capsules. So then you said to me, okay, try the oil. And the oil comes with a little syringe, and you can
Yep.
measure the exact number, the exact amount based on weight. And you said it's not overnight, it's 2 weeks. You got to give it 2 weeks. And Sue, this is not an exaggeration. We're now in maybe our third month or fourth. After 3 days, from being a girl who getting up, we'd cringe for her. Come on, girl, you can do it. To like she would bounce up. And
Yeah.
that's where she is now. She
But
bounces
that
from
was
lying
really
down.
the only symptom that you had. When we first
Yes,
talked, I was like, how will you measure success? And I say this to
yes,
people like, what are you going to use for a measuring
right.
stick to know that this is a worthwhile investment? Because it isn't inexpensive.
That's
How are you going to know? And so for some people, obviously, if they're using it for seizure management, that one's easy.
right.
But if they're using it for mobility, I try to point out some measuring
Mm-hmm.
tools that they can use. So whether it's getting up from the laying down position, which is oftentimes an issue, especially for the bigger dogs,
Yep.
whether it's getting up the steps, whether it's getting in and out of the car, on and off of furniture, any kind of concrete kind of parameter that you can use to measure improvement.
The other thing is soundness. So anyone who's used to horses,
Right,
you know that if a horse trots out, sound, no hitch, no lameness, no hitch in the giddy up,
right,
that trotting smoothly is the best way of knowing if an animal has pain. Not walking and not cantering or galloping or running, but
right,
trotting. That
right.
shows you the mechanism. And she had been not like hopping lame, but a tentative trotter
Hmm.
within days. And then, and you said you got to give this to her once a day, every day, forever.
Hmm.
This isn't, oh, we're going to change this mechanism in her body and then she'll be all better. So I'm like, okay, now I know it really works. So now she was running with him,
Right.
leaping through high grass, which she hadn't done in years, just because he leaps through high grass. So the two of them looked like a pair of deer. The thing that really struck me, which I hadn't even noticed she couldn't and didn't do anymore, was stretching her back. Now, this is
Yes.
something we talk about a lot with cats, how vitally important it is for a cat to
Yep.
hook their front claws into something and pull back. That
Yep.
stretching their spine is vitally important for a cat. So, in a minute, we'll
Yep.
talk about cats and CBD. But I
Yep.
hadn't noticed that most dogs, when they get up, especially in the morning, they put out their front legs and their butts in the air, and then they go
Oh, good
opposite.
stretch.
Really
Yep.
good
Good
stretch.
stretch. Yep.
Yeah. Or even especially when you're going downstairs first thing in the morning. You get even a
Yeah.
bigger stretch. Your butt's
That
up on the top step,
big
right?
downward dog, the big yoga
Yeah,
pose, downward
yeah,
dog. Yeah. And some of them will do it in the opposite. They stretch their back legs out like they're doing
that's right.
Pilates or a ballerina pose.
Or if they're getting off the chaise she sleeps on, you do the front and then you let the back kind of slide
Drag.
off like a snake. Well, she was suddenly stretching, doing those stretches. I hadn't noticed the dog hadn't stretched in I don't know how long because it hurt. So she was
Some
just
people
not
notice
doing it.
that, yeah, some people notice that the dog is now getting up from a nap and doing a full head shake with vigor and then the body shimmer, which they had not noticed that they had stopped doing that really full body shimmy shake that they do after a good nap. And so you forget about it until it returns, and then you're
That's
like,
right.
wow, we haven't
Yeah.
seen that in a while.
There's definitely a wow factor where
Yeah,
you say this is like years that
yeah.
this behavior has been curtailed because it hurts, because they're
But you didn't
stiff.
describe her as overtly painful to me when we
Nope.
talked.
Nope. All
Your
I know is
perception was not that she was painful dog.
no, because
Yeah,
all dogs are stoic, and this dog was somewhere high on the stoic scale. But getting up was really gave me a stomach ache and my husband. Every time we saw her get up, we're like,
yeah,
oh, sorry, we got to make you get up, or the puppy's
right,
making you get up. From that point of view, she had to be in pain, but it's not like she ever yelped or moaned
right,
or complained. It's just that was a really hard thing to do. And then you have to figure out running with the little lunatic. That couldn't have been easy either. If it hurt that
right,
much to get up, it's like everything else has to hurt
right.
somewhat. So it's interesting because you don't realize how much comfort you're now able to give them and relief from probably accumulative years of aches and pains.
And I think for that particular condition, it creeps up on you slowly.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't necessarily, it's not a night and day. It's not recovering from surgery. It's a slow aging of the joints
That's
and
right.
reduction of the mobility. So it does sometimes have quite a bit of impact when you can reverse some of those changes that have been creeping up and see the dog as its younger self,
Yeah.
really
It's real.
playful and
Yes,
active and enjoying its activity. Yes, it did what it had to before this with the puppy, but now she enjoys doing it with the puppy.
very much. In fact, she'll instigate
Yeah,
a game of tag you're it
yeah,
or do a figure of eight. It's
yeah,
really quite extraordinary to see. And then you feel, like I said, like you hung the moon because you're the one who said, "Come on, let's do this. We can do this.
right,
We're gonna get the right dose."
right,
And you to me or any other customer say, "Stay in touch. Ask me
right,
questions."
right.
So then what was interesting was it became thunderstorm time, summer thunderstorms. And in a much higher dose, the Elevet CBD oil works for that too.
Yeah,
And you told me what to do. And I did it at one thunderstorm and I was amazed. I thought, how can this magic potion that
right,
gave her back her youthful body also help her frazzled
right,
brain? So, how do
right.
you determine for people or help people determine for themselves how to add on to that morning's mobility dose to come up with a freaking out at the thunder and lightning dose?
We knew from our research that the daily maintenance dose helps with calming, but it didn't calm enough during these acute triggers. So we doubled it. And that's where we found we had much better success. So 2 milligrams per kilogram is the dose we use for daily support. 4 milligrams per kilogram. So doubling it is what we use 2 hours before a known trigger. And that, for most dogs, is successful in helping to prevent that panic that they get from thunderstorms, fireworks, nail trims, the grooming appointments, vet appointments, those sort of events.
Oh, it would work before the nail trim?
It often does. Nail trims, I'd say, are the hardest one to impact. Like
Yeah,
we have better
yeah,
success with fireworks than nail trims because it's
yeah,
so point in time that the dogs, and they've oftentimes had numerous exposures to that in which they protested and then
yeah.
won, right? We gave up
Yes,
because it wasn't worth the
yes,
battle. So they've
yes,
trained us. And
yeah.
so that can take quite a bit to undo. So it's not like you're going to be able to give them the CBD and do all 20 nails in
Far
one,
from it.
yeah, in one
No.
session. But it is one of those things that while they're on their CBD for their thunderstorms, great time to trim a nail or two because now
Oh,
you can start
interesting.
doing
Yeah.
small little exposures to the nail trimming because they're already at that dose, that therapeutic dose for calming. And it's a great way to kind of retrain the nail trim process.
Interesting.
If
And
in most dogs,
they're already miserable from the thunderstorm, so
right,
what the heck?
right, right.
Trim
Good
3 of my
distraction.
nails. I don't
Yeah,
care.
yeah,
It's all just pure misery.
yeah, yeah.
So
It's a
because I didn't do it 2 hours before, because sometimes you don't have the warning, or
right,
alternately, you're told there'll be T storms this afternoon. There aren't any. You're just not going
right,
to be doubling the
right.
dose all the time. So I doubled it. Was that
Yep.
bad? In other words,
No,
you said
that's
do
the thing.
twice. I did three
There,
times.
there's no unsafe dose of CBD
Wow.
that has been determined. It does not crash their blood pressures, heart rate, or respiratory rate in a way that would be unsafe. It will make them more drowsy. And some dogs, if they eat their entire bag of 62 chews in one session because they stole it off the counter, which they do, will give themselves a bellyache and some GI upset. But there's still not.
No
You can
kidding.
call poison control, but they'll tell you it's fine. So that is one of the other benefits of CBD, is that it's safe at there is no dangerous dose, and it can be used with almost every other medication. And if they have kidney compromise,
Right.
it can still be used. If they have diabetes and they're on insulin, it can still be used. If they
Wow.
have thyroid abnormalities, it can still be used. So that's one of the other benefits of CBD, is that for some dogs who can't take traditional pharmaceuticals
Right.
because they have a history of ulceration from NSAIDs, or if they have compromised kidneys and they can't take NSAIDs for their mobility, they can safely take CBD and not run the risk of aggravating either of those conditions. So
And
it
the other difference is that if you were giving Daramax or Rimadyl, which is an NSAID like
Yep,
dog Advil,
yep,
which is really harsh on the liver and on the gut,
yep.
that's only a palliative. Whereas it seems to me that the CBD oil has changed her body. It's not covering up pain. It couldn't be. It's giving her
That
mobility, right? It's not
I think the evidence shows that there is some ability for it to reduce the inflammation, which is actually what causes the pain. So it has the ability to block a pain signal to a certain extent. So that's part of its effect, its benefits, is that it blocks the pain signal, which is what like Tylenol does. And it
right.
also has the ability to reduce some of the inflammation that's driving the pain, which whether it be from arthritis or from other inflammatory conditions, it seems to be able to help reduce inflammation, thus creating more comfort. Now, chronic inflammation we know is not good for the immune system of the body.
Right.
So getting
Right.
inflammation down is going to be beneficial for long-term health as well. So
Yeah.
for longevity, having reduced inflammation is going to be well received.
So, just to wrap up in the couple of minutes we have left, one of the things that happens with thunderstorm phobia, at least to the dogs I've had, is heavy panting and
Hmm.
a very increased heart rate. And
Yep.
when it's bad, I thought, was she going to have a heart attack? Is she going to pass
Right.
out? So, the CBD would lower that heart rate and that whole trigger of panting and heart rate and almost seeming like you're going to explode from anxiety.
I think it lowers their anxiety because it's their anxiety that drives that heart rate and
Right.
respiratory rate. So if you lower their anxiety, then you're going to lower those physiological symptoms that you're seeing in the form of escalated heart rate and respiratory rate. So you have to get ahead of that and
Mm-hmm.
prevent or reduce the anxiety in order for those physical symptoms to be impacted, because it doesn't technically, it doesn't reduce heart rate, it doesn't reduce
Okay.
respiratory rate. That's part of why it's safe. But by
Right.
reducing anxiety, you don't get those escalations in the nervous or panic dogs that you do otherwise. So it's the modulation of the anxiety that helps with those things not escalating to that level.
And then the way to deliver it if the dog is in the panic attack from the thunderstorm and or lightning. If I remember, you said you can put the drops on a little piece of bread. I could squirt it in her mouth, but it's pretty harsh tasting. And
Hmm.
there's no way a dog will eat when they're that anxious, not any kind of a
Right,
treat. If you put on a
right.
little piece of bread, at least it sopped it up. And now you
Yep,
pop the bread in her mouth, right? Is that the
right.
plan?
Yep, yep, you can do
Okay.
that. You can cover it with a little bit of peanut butter to try and help mitigate some of the nastiness of the hemp oil, because it isn't good. It isn't nice tasting. So yeah, you can do that. Some people have other things. They mix it with a little vanilla yogurt. a couple teaspoons of tuna fish, because that will be
Right. Really strong.
enough of an enticement that the dog will relent even in their nervous state and slurp it down. Vanilla ice cream for some reason is wildly successful, but I think part of it's because it's cold. It helps to minimize
Right.
the fragrance, and it's sweet because the hemp oil is quite bitter. But yeah, it
All
can be
right.
mixed with anything, so that's helpful.
All of it's safe. Listen,
Yep,
all I can tell you is it's safe and it works. And
good.
I'm a customer for life. I got the large jar. I got the largest jar in case you ever ran low on your stash. I think it's amazing. I think it's great that you're there at Elevet. I just think that the value of CBD oil is as yet undiscovered for
Right.
human
If
health.
if
There's
it's the right CBD oil, that's
right.
the thing. That's the wild west of CBD. The
Oh yeah.
industry is not consistent, but if you get the right one, it can be quite life-changing.
As we're finishing, I want to say I tried three other brands before I found
Yep,
Elevet, and
yep.
they were pointless, useless.
They are not all created equal, that's
No,
for sure.
and they all cost a lot of money. So it's not as
Yeah.
though you're going to get a bargain. No. And you
Yeah,
will now spend your money for no relief and
yeah,
not know that there's actually a
right,
different way to receive it where it
right.
will ring the bell. Thank you, Sue Adams. Thank
You're
you for
very
being there
welcome.
for all
You're
of
very
us,
welcome.
the docs, the vet techs, and we pet owners. Thanks a million.
My pleasure. Thank you.